Ladies and gentlemen in the XRP community, today, yet again, we got ourselves a pretty interesting story. And not only because the lawsuit against Ethereum was apparently just dropped. Just dropped on the floor. Nope, not only that. Today is not so much a news video. It's mostly just covering what's been going on when it comes to articles. And I'll tell you right now that when it comes to XRP, those articles are always interesting. So if you haven't done it yet, make sure you go ahead and press that like button. And I'd say let us dive right in. With the first article being XRP to $1,000. An analyst cites JP Morgan's $10 trillion daily volume. And here I'll say this. You can tell me a lot about the XRP performance relative to other sectors and make a good analysis, a good argument for it. But nobody can tell me that XRP at $1,000 soon makes sense. And even though you can definitely say it makes sense over a, 25-year period or so, that is not a discussion worth having. Yes, guys like Warren Buffett look at the 10-year outlook of a company and, the slightly longer term future. When it comes to crypto, this tech is so new that I don't think you should be looking further than like 5 years into the future when it comes to these investments, because most likely the whole sector will be so different by then because of ETFs, because of institutions joining the game, that you have to severely reevaluate your strategy in, I'm going to say 5 to 10 years, but probably already within like 3 or 4. And also, I think that before, when XRP used to have crazy sorts of hype, talking about the potential, right? Future potential, future prices, it was a lot more exciting than it is today. And even though the basis here was, since JP Morgan's cross-border payments are moving $10 trillion every day, or just JP Morgan moving $10 trillion a day, wild numbers, definitely. But then the conclusion that could drive XRP to 1,000, imagine all the money XRP will be moving daily as a bridge currency for multiple banks worldwide. That I don't fully know, but when I look at the stats, people still very much love these statements. One that's slightly more interesting, though, in my own humble opinion, will be something more along the lines of, hey, right, we all said Ripple will go for an IPO soon, especially since the SEC lawsuit could soon be over, or is very close to being over. We covered recently that the fine, or at least the remedies phase, could be expedited ever so slightly, or at least be significantly lower from 2 billion to 100 million, if not 10 million. And since the Ethereum case is now thrown out, perhaps they're also going to stop Ripple's. Don't think so, because they're already this far in, but it could. But then if you're starting to speculate more about where can it go after Ripple goes for an IPO, or where should it be at, I don't think that's as crazy of a question. But then I look at the article, and again, ladies and gentlemen, I personally like to keep it honest here. I look at the comment section. Many people would like me to just throw out these crazy things and analysis and dates, but I think let's just cover what makes sense. That's most important. This article here says, well, Ripple shares are right now about $40. If they go for an IPO and everything gets good and over with, probably going to go to about $100, which is 2.5x. If XRP does the same, it would be at roughly $1.20 or so. Now, I don't want to be that guy, but I gotta. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care about $1.20 in XRP. Let's be serious here. How long has it been? Like 7 years or something since we saw crazy heights? If it goes to $1.20, I'll be like, hey, it's not a stable coin no more, but you definitely won't see me making it as big as a deal as with Ripple stock doing such numbers. And again, it's harder for stocks to move that much, but I just like to keep it honest with you for people that don't know as much about investing, even though this is not financial advice, but I think some people like the way I look at these cryptos and the investments and the strategies. So for example, Linda Jones here, a notable Wall Street veteran, this by the way means nothing as a buzzword, but sure, said that Ripple could trade at $600 a share. Sure, at 12, 14x, whatever from here, it's not impossible, it's not crazy, but that would be because of its massive XRP holdings, right? Then all of a sudden, the article says, should XP do the same? Then all of a sudden, the price would go from 50 cents to $7. But no, if the XRP price were to do the same, then theoretically speaking, the Ripple stock price would also keep doing better because they have such significant XRP holdings that this analysis could just keep going on and on and on. So you'd have to just keep recalculating, which would be a loop up forever. So at some point, Ripple stock would have to go up to basically even out its XRP holdings, and the XRP holdings wouldn't necessarily go up in price because of it, or at least that wouldn't necessarily make sense without things just eventually being completely out of proportion. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I personally think in a few months, as the crypto market gets into a bullish sort of pattern again, all the altcoins, including your XRP, will probably do really, really well. But right now is not yet the time for it. And what I just said yesterday, for example, was, hey, things like Phantom, things like, don't quite remember the other name actually, but yada, yada, yada. They're all in like oversold territory right now. Will be logical for those to do well again. I want you guys to realize one more thing, just from what I described yesterday. If you always just buy altcoin dips, like when things are down tremendously much, you just buy the dip. Very often you can make a profit on the way back upwards. It's just a matter of having the devotion and the logic to see slightly more in the future, which is what comes down must come up. When things are red, get excited. When things are green, get a little bit afraid. If we know that it's always true and we act on it, and we have a similar sort of analysis with the XRP longer term, which is it'll probably have a crazy performance, but it just might take some time for it to roll on in. Just last night, we saw now, if you just bought yesterday, like most people were thinking of, in the sense of just have the conviction, or at least not sell when things are down so bad. Yesterday, we were saying when there's blood on the streets, buy. More importantly, and that's the most important part, don't give up on a red day. And if you give up, better have a very, very good reason and a follow-up strategy. It's not a bull market. So talking about, let me say it differently. It's not altcoin season. So talking about like $20 in XRP, etc. This is all for when the price starts going so rampant that we got to think of where is the top going to be. When we're at the bottom and we're waiting for the initial leg upwards, it doesn't matter where it will end up. What's more important is when is the move going to happen and how strong or what type of indicator or how strong is that initial spike going to look? And should we be in before that, or is it still fine to get in as it's happening? And I said with XRP, the way I think things are going to go is you're still fine to just get in once the market starts moving hard again, which again will be decided by Bitcoin moving up. And I've stated this before, you will probably for the most part never fully understand why the market's moving down. It is very often very much behind closed doors, the crazy shenanigans that's happening. One theory that people have been having is that some major unlocks from the 2021 bull market are now starting to open. So where they invested, let's say 3 years ago, all of a sudden now some crazy unlocks are opening up. And we can partially find that here by pressing token unlocks on CMC and a couple of other places. The only reason I'm saying, it's not fully something that I hold too dearly is because if we take a look at Pendle, it has unlocks every single day as far as I believe, but the price is still up like 16%. And even for all these that are having unlocks, 𝗕𝗓𝗪 Labs is getting a pretty massive unlock tomorrow of 2% of the entire supply, yet the price is up like 8%. Then again, on some of the coins, it could definitely have a significant impact, at least over the longer term, where, for example, tens or sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars, but in this case, for example, 2%, 16 million, yeah, perhaps keeping the price down ever so slightly. And I guess that manipulation, or at least to some extent, is only going to get crazier over time as bigger and bigger players join the game. And I guess we could kind of compare it to how we now saw massive Bitcoin ETF outflows this week, which we really haven't seen too much of before, but it begs the question of what exactly are they thinking and doing behind closed doors and in that background that we don't fully have access to? Nobody I've spoken to just quite yet has been able to explain to me why these outflows really happen and if it's a good or bad thing. Let me rephrase. Every ETF out there has in and outflows, but why specifically on these days when we all know that these guys are mostly investing for the longer term? Is it because some people are speculating? Why is it then that it's sometimes so heavily skewed on the one day 200 million inflow, on the other day 200 million outflow? The difference there being 400 million. I wouldn't necessarily say it's crazy if we see, very big pluses most of the time and then very slight negatives here and there. But why on some days is it such a big delta? How is that really logical there? Well, I guess I can find some very big logic for it, but I just meant, what is their reason for doing that? You might say, well, they're just trying to take profit, or this or that. They're moving money around. But then all at the same time, or is it mostly just one big institution that's doing it at that point? For example, here, why this day? Why, or potentially a week? I'm not sure what the time frame is here, but why this week all of a sudden $500 million out? And why then this specific day here, hour, whatever, why then almost $1 billion in? What is the significance of those days? Or once more, is it just one big institution doing it all, making that move? Or do they know something, and do they look at some numbers that we usually don't look at? I don't know, but it's something that's been kind of bugging me a little bit. The me not knowing what exactly is happening there. Because once more, I understand ETFs have in and outflows, but I just kind of wonder what's causing them to make these decisions. Now, again, when it comes to like fundamental reasons for sales, if we're talking generally crypto, there are many different points you can figure out. Like, for example, oh, you know what? Miners actually, regardless here, since we're back at all-time high levels, have been selling pretty hard. And for that reason, it's not too weird that we're not able to breach these all-time high levels, because many people are at the highest level worth of a portfolio ever. So all-time highs are usually kind of hard to breach. Take a look back at the previous bull cycle. We know. But from that perspective, I also wonder what the next big positive push is going to be. Things like Ethereum beating the investigation by the SEC. In some really good market, that would have been something that caused prices to go on a crazy rampage. Right now, it didn't really seem to do too much, at least not for Ethereum. Oh, 4% up. Wow. All right. It means almost nothing. But I wonder what type of news could come out that makes the market just go rip, just go absolutely insane, or what type of news can make things go down, because it seems like we've seen all the crazy stuff already and nothing kind of hurts the market anymore, I guess. I know it does, but I'm just kind of wondering what the next big mover is going to be here. And also, people ask me before, hey, NVIDIA and AI coins are doing, or AI is doing so well. I think the camera went out, so let's just talk about it for a second. AI did so well. NVIDIA is now the most valuable company in the world. Why is that not translating over into AI coins? And what I said before, I'll say it again. For everything, there's a time and place. Right now, this hour, for example, these coins are doing really, really well, or at least some of them are. I can tell you right now, there will be a time when these probably go on crazy rampages all over, just kind of like we're seeing it go on a rampage like this minute. But very often, just like I showed you with my S&P versus Bitcoin analysis, since the S&P keeps breaking its all-time high, Bitcoin will most likely follow pretty soon, but it's not instant, and there isn't always a direct line that you can draw, but you just know overall it's the same sort of pattern that it follows. And that's all you need to know. That's about it for this little crypto update. I'll see you guys again in another one.